And we are live. I think. So that's the case of right, I think we're live now. So just wait for some people to join. Right, I think Fred joined, I think. Okay, and I can see we've got a few people joining now. Hey everyone, good to see you. Drop a message in the chat if you're here so you can see who's here on the webinar. I can see Fred and Arthur are connecting now. Hey Graham. Alright, cool. Just waiting for them to. Just wait for those guys to connect and then we'll get going. So while waiting, I hope you've. Oh, there we go. They're there.
This is on camera.
Definitely didn't know we were supposed to press those.
We can see you now. We can see you now. You're gonna have to huddle in together.
Yeah, bit of a cuddle up.
Oh yeah.
I like the Star Wars shirt. That's always a good one.
Thanks ever so much. Just for you, mate.
Good. All right. Yeah, I think we've got a few people in now, so might as well get going. If any late straddlers arrive, then well, they can watch the replay or something. But yeah, so today I'm joined by Fred and Arthur of WePrepFBA. They have a Facebook group and also iPrep service company for Amazon. I think it's just Amazon, isn't it? Or was it eBay?
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, just Amazon.
Well, we can do anything, but that's what we're focusing on. Is the FBA stuff.
Cool. And if anyone doesn't know me, my name's Luke. I'm also an Amazon seller, but I'm going to pass over to Fred and Arthur to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about how they sort of got started in the Amazon business.
Yeah, so I'm Fred. I've been selling for nearly 5 years on Amazon. I started in 2015. My friends took the amazing.com course, and then from there I sort of learned how to sell on Amazon in terms of private label, and built out a number of brands that I sell in Europe and in America. I tried in Japan and failed, and then from there I've got a warehouse, and off the back of the warehouse I've started a prep center with Arthur. We've been doing that since January.
Yeah, my journey's been very similar. I started off private label off the back of the same people doing their SM1, and built a business with my sister on Amazon selling private label goods, bringing them in from China, and selling them in the UK and the US. Our business has shifted a lot towards Europe as well now, which I find a good place to sell. And then, like Fred said, of the need for needing space to keep our products to reduce storage costs and stuff like that, we needed a space, and so we thought, why not get together and do something.
Nice, cool. All right, yeah, nice. Indra and Reese have said the volume's sounds not great, so I don't know if that's for me or for you guys. So let us know if you have any issues with the sound, and we'll try and get that sorted. But yeah, so tonight we're just going to talk a bit about Amazon product prep in general. If you guys have got any questions, then please stick those in the chat, and that makes it easier to know sort of what to talk about, how we can sort of help. But we'll talk a little bit about prep in general, a bit about warehousing units. Obviously, Fred and Arthur have been through that process, so sort of if they've got any tips there, experience, anything to look out for. And then talking about outsourcing as well. So last week we had a webinar on outsourcing, and the sort of options there. You can get a warehouse, hire someone, or you can get a prep center, and then answering sort of any questions that you guys may have. And I'll also talk a bit about sort of my situation and what I've been through in terms of prep. But okay, I think some people are saying the sound's all right, some aren't, so we'll carry on. But yeah, cool. So I don't know if you guys have got any sort of just general recommendations with prep or anything, if you know sort of where maybe people are going wrong, anything like that, anything you want to talk about, and then if anyone else has any questions, we'll sort of address those as well.
I think the biggest thing for us, we're like way over 6 foot, and taking stuff off the ground was the biggest thing we learned like, pretty quick. We had a bad back straight away when we were doing the prep, so getting a decent high bench and then raising stuff, like raising boxes. We've got like this movable pallet thing that you put boxes on, and then decent set of scales that are then movable around the warehouse. It's just about being able to move the things around without having to break your back. Like if you're prepping all day, which we are pretty much, it hurts, and you need to be sort of organised in that respect and having a good flow and a good area. Whether you're prepping, if you're sort of bunched up on one little table that's on the floor and you're kneeling down, you'll soon have a bad back and then be put right off doing any prep work, and then ultimately that's going to slow you down in sending stuff into Amazon, which is where you're going to make your money.
Yeah, I think workflow is the most important thing, and like the little bits, like Fred was saying, that help you get there. Like knowing where you're going to start from, where your goods are going to be stored before you go in, how that they're all stored in like units that you can then bring out and bosh things out in an organized fashion, and then working like for us, we work a certain way around the warehouse, which means that everything is just working perfectly, and we're just sort of always fine tuning that. We also think that like gadgets, like there may not be like particularly exciting things, a little bit more to us now that we do so much prep, but good like tape dispensers and sharp knives, they're all just things you don't think about, but they're the little things which reduce the time. Like you could be prepping 400 units and it might take you 4 hours, and then as soon as you've got all these little bits in, you can do it in half the time, if not less. So I think that the right utensils for the job is a really important thing.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I think it's one of those things where the sort of tools you're using for prep probably don't cost that much in terms of the time saved. I think the best investment I probably ever made was a heat gun. Buying quite a lot of things from sort of Amazon and that, and just having that heat gun to just whack those labels off pretty effortlessly. When I first did my first shipment, I didn't have the heat gun, and I was trying to use like some Goo Gone type stuff, and it just created an absolute mess, and ended up ripping some of the cardboard up and everything, and it was just a nightmare. You have to like leave it for like 10 minutes and then come back to it, and it's just getting a bit of a throwback to all those cardboard boxes, and not fun.
Did you miss that?
No, not at all. No, I've actually got like a little shipment to do tomorrow, and I'm getting my brother to help me because I just don't want to do it. I'm just going to add all the stuff into it. Yeah. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with prep. It's about trying to make it as efficient as possible, and it's, you look at it, it can take you a few hours, or it can take a couple of hours if you get those systems right. Especially, I don't know about other people, but there's been a few times where I've sort of, especially when I was starting out, I've come to put all the box information, and I'm like, what did I put that in that box, or rather than there? And it's just having that system in place. And if you've got that system in place, you're going to be saving time in the long run. I see a couple of people have said that Fred, your sound's not great. I don't know if you can get any.
Adjusting the AirPod. Is it better now or not?
I can hear you fine. I don't know if guys let us know if that was any better or not.
Yeah. Is it me as well, or is it just Fred? It's going to be like pretty impossible for us to tell, isn't it? I don't know how to adjust any of the settings on this thing. You can hear us both equally, can you?
I can hear you both fine, but I think other people have commented. So yeah, let us know. I think with prep that's it, and also I don't know what you guys think in terms of Amazon guidelines as well. I think there's a few people I think there's quite a lot of things that people don't know about, and I know it's sort of keeping up to date. I know recently they changed the the box weight limits. I think was it from what 30 odd kilos to 23?
30 kilos to 23, yeah. That's the
Yeah,
biggest one, really. You don't want to be going over that. It's not worth any sort of risk in sending anything overweight. I mean, anyone that says, send in 24, 25, just test the water, but it's just not worth a suspension or any sort of bad note against your account whatsoever.
It's one of those things where you can take that sort of risk if you're that sort of person, if you're dealing with your own stuff, but we're not dealing with our own goods that we're prepping for people generally. So, it's not our call to make, and
there's
it's
no
not
calculated risk in what we do. We have to just go by the rules, and that's it. There's no sort of messing around.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know in the chat if you guys have had any interesting experience, like prep related experiences. I can think of a few that I suppose are not really that interesting, but more sort of frustrations, I suppose, and mainly when I was getting started. I think the biggest thing for me that I find really frustrating is Amazon Seller Central using like creating shipments. I think there's been times where I'll be adding all the sort of box content information, and then for some reason it'll just freeze when I'm like trying to add the dates or something, and then I've got to just like then I reload the page and it'll just disappear. But then the problem is I don't like put on the sheet and then transfer it over. So I had to I knew I had to reload. I knew it was going to disappear. So I had to like take screenshots and then like bring my laptop back into my room, get my monitor and try and like put it all back in. It's just really frustrating, those things. And I think it comes back to just having a system in place. I don't know, like what overall, I guess, what general sort of system is there? I think you talked about having a workflow, but is there anything you use? I mean, I literally just kind of did it as I went in terms of I don't have any sort of specific system on Amazon or anything. I just add stuff to a box, and as I'm adding it to boxes, I put it into Amazon at the time. I don't know if that's the most efficient way to go about it.
Spreadsheet. If you can map everything out on the spreadsheet, you put it into a spreadsheet as you're going along, and then you fill in the box content. And if you're doing the box content information as well, most of the time, if you just put for the dates, which I think is the most annoying bit of information to disappear when you have to reload the page, is if you put one of each item into like the first box to start off with, and when you put the dates in and then press save, it should retain all of the dates in the boxes without those disappearing. So that's one way to go over that, and then at the end, then you can sort of fill in your box content information properly. But that's what I've found in the past. The most irritating thing is the dates disappearing, and it's saying that you've bubble wrapped, and then you've got to then go back in, open it up, and that sort of thing. But a good spreadsheet which has got a list of your products that are going in, and then what box they're going in, dates and weight.
Just covering yourself for any Seller Central, just being Seller Central and going down.
And do you use? I know you can get I know it's the web form, but then you can also, I think Amazon sometimes make me download a spreadsheet. Do you use that, or do you just use Amazon? Yeah.
We don't. I think
only for books when we use scanners stuff. When we're doing like a bulk upload.
Okay.
General sort of OA wholesale private label stuff, we're not doing anything other than just putting it in Seller Central.
I'm not sure. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure how that upload works. I think that I looked at it briefly, and it was a case packed item thing, not an individual item thing. But I mean, you might have seen differently. But the one I ended up on looking at it briefly was a case packed thing, which obviously a lot of the OA stuff is not.
Yeah, it was different. I've had a couple where it was a case of they wouldn't let me use the web form. I don't know if it's because the shipment, there was too many different SKUs or something, because when I was doing it myself, I'd leave everything for 2 weeks and then do one massive shipment. So I don't know if that was why they just wouldn't let me, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know if any of you guys in the chat have got any sort of what do you do, but Anthony's asked, what heat gun type would you recommend? I've got Mo's done it for me. I was just about to put a link to. I have a list of resources that I use, but yeah, Mo's done it. So this is I put together a list of stuff that I used when I was prepping, which I'll actually just rattle through now. I might as well, in terms of, because I don't know, it's difficult. I don't know what stage people are at, whether they're starting out looking for prep tools. I know Mo's just about to get going, or if they've been doing OA for a couple of years, and it's probably not as relevant to you. But I'll go through it quickly. I don't know, you guys can if you can think of anything that I've missed. But I think poly bags are essential. I get a range of different sizes of poly bags.
Yeah, loads of different sizes.
Obviously A4 product labels as well. So they're the 27 a sheet that I used. I just used my sort of standard printer for that. I don't know if you guys got any of those like Dymo things, or they just use a standard printer for that.
We used to
Standard printer.
laser printer 27 up is what we use.
Cool. And then this one I didn't use for ages, but when I started using, I was like, why haven't I? But A4 shipping labels. So I'll just like get a standard A4 piece of paper and like sellotape it. But it comes back to like just time saved, and just getting a A4 shipping label and just sticking that on just saves so much time. But I think that's a key thing, is where you can save. If you can save, like, because if you're doing 20 boxes, which I was doing at a time, and it takes you just 2 or 3 minutes to sellotape each one on, it's like, well, adds up to over half an hour. So and that's every time you can, if you can find like 2 or 3 things like that, just so it saves you time. But yeah, a few other things like obviously bubble wrap, brown tape. I think, did you guys mention like a safety knife type thing for like opening boxes that you receive from?
Sort of slides up and out.
Yeah, like they're really good for, again, it just saves time. You can use like scissors or something, but you're essentially damaging products and those sort of thing. Label remover, so yeah, I think they're mainly like US based, aren't they? I tried to look for them when I was starting out, but I struggled to sort of find any UK.
You can get them.
Okay, cool. Yes, stuff like, mentioned the heat gun, but stuff like Goo Gone as well. So I use the way I did it with labels. I think Argos is probably the really obvious one. They always put those like yellow and the STN labels on everything. And so I used a heat gun, and then if there's any sort of like residue left over, I would get a bit of Goo Gone and just sort of like wipe it, and then I have another towel that I use to like dry it off. I don't know if you guys had any problems with that, but it's like, especially like older labels, sometimes they just don't want to come off.
They're real tacky, aren't they?
Yeah. And then I think another thing, marker pens. I just bought loads because I'd always leave them around, lose them everywhere, and they're great for just like, I think the way I went about, I just number every box, so then at least I know like which box is which. Then you can refer back to your spreadsheet and be like, okay, that's in that box, that's in that box, and you can like write the weight on the boxes as well. That's what I did, just the marker pens.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I don't think the way I did prep was very efficient, but that's what I did. Scales. I just got scales. I mean, you can use your bathroom scales, but again, it's just like time thing. If you just got, I think I got like postage scales. It's just
stand
like 30. Yeah, and then like stand on it without it. But I guess you could do that if you're starting out. But I literally just, when I was starting out, I just bought all this stuff because I knew I was going to do it, and just get some like those. I don't know why I got, so it's on the list, but it's just some scales you can just move around, and you can just take it with you, put it down, put the box on, then go on to the next one. It's really convenient, and again, it's time saved. And then tape gun as well. I didn't use a tape gun for ages, but then when I got one, it's just like, why haven't I been doing it, sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything you guys can think of that I missed, but that's kind of how I did it, really.
Fragile tape.
Yeah.
We send everything out fragile tape on it. I'm not sure if it does anything, but we feel like hopefully that it might make them take a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And, tape gun's a good one. We've inhaled a lot of sellotape from biting sellotape, and getting like a big difference.
Yeah.
And like the tape dispenser for when you're having this tape bottles and stuff like that, one that's clamped onto the surface you're on, so you can just wash it out that side.
Okay.
Made a big difference.
Yeah.
We use extra thick tape, don't we, for the boxes?
Oh yeah, for boxes we use like massive tape, really wide tape.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. But it's all these things just to save time, I guess. Yeah.
And then we print up all of the do not separate labels. We just print them all up ourselves. Yeah. So on the same stuff we print the SKUs on. We just print loads of them up with that, and the same with the things. We print those onto 4-way A4 sheets, so they're just ready to slap on.
Tape measure.
Yeah, tape measure can be helpful as well. If you're like collapsing boxes down, like try void fill as well.
Of course.
To make sure nothing's moving around, like damaged stuff.
Bubble wrap.
I never actually ended up. I think I only ever bought like 2 rolls of the craft paper type stuff, because I always when I was doing OA, just reuse all the, because you get stores that just literally just chuck a couple of items in there in a massive box, and you get loads of these those like plastic airbag things and craft paper and everything. And then if you got like newspaper or anything, I don't know if you meant to use newspaper. I did when I was running low, but I don't know if you meant to. So
I think
maybe
there's rules. But I think people are advised generally not to use newspaper because it can have something politically motivated on it.
Right,
and if it's read by the wrong person, then you can get into trouble for it. Apparently, I haven't had any experience with that. And then with
probably
the
best just to stick away with it anyway.
Yeah, I would stay clear of it. But and then the plastic void fill, like the pillows stuff that you get, and the big bubble wrap things, you're not supposed to send those into Amazon unless they're the biodegradable ones, which are made from the cellulose stuff.
All right, there you go. I never knew that.
The paper fill is good, but yeah, it's well interesting. It's really exciting, isn't it? Our extensive knowledge of void fill.
Well, it's these things to know though, because it's like you said, it's whether you want to put that account at risk. I mean, it might not be a big risk, but it's probably a necessary risk at the end of the day. But yeah, I think a couple other things, tips wise, I'd say, in terms of boxes, especially if you're starting out, because boxes are pretty expensive, and then I'd literally just go when they're stacking the shelves, and be like, can I have those like crisp boxes or whatever? And I just get these like massive crisp boxes, and you get weird looks, but it's like, so what? It's the middle of the night anyway. You get some interesting characters shopping then anyway. So and then I'd just be there scanning away, and they'll be like, oh, give me half an hour or whatever. So I'll be like, go scan, and you come back, and it's like, I end up making good friends with one lady who just come every week and just get boxes from her. But and
that lady became your wife.
Yeah. She's downstairs at the moment, packing boxes. But no, I think especially if you're starting out, just trying to be a bit sort of savvy about these things. But if you are a bit further down the line, you might be looking at sort of a warehouse or a prep centre, as I was. So probably best letting you guys talk a bit about like the sort of pros and cons of having a warehouse, and if you have any general tips there, because it's not something I've been through, so I'm probably not the best to speak about it.
The biggest con is going to be cost. Like, obviously you have to pay rent, and then rates if you have to pay rates. Going to and from the warehouse, like a commute to work before we've been working at home, which has been ultimately free to do that. Biggest pro is obviously having the space to do it and the space to move around. We can like expand our business in more than one way, which is probably the best thing for us.
Yeah, I think for people who are looking to take their sort of OA business from something where they're doing it at home, where they've got the option to do the prep themselves and save a little bit or increase their margins slightly, they're actually using up a lot of their time where they could be sourcing products. And if they're having a considerable amount of time that's been taken up by the prep, it means that they're probably quite good at sourcing products because they've got so much to do. And so if they could outsource that prep to spend more time sourcing products, then they can scale their business a lot quicker. And so that is like one of the biggest pros, I think, for someone to start using a prep center. Was that what you're talking about? Is that what we're talking about? We're talking about, yeah.
Well, it's kind of a case of sort of first, because this is, I guess I might probably say here that this is that kind of situation I've been in a couple of months ago, where I was like, I don't want to be doing this prep anymore. For me, it was a case of like, I've got a pretty big double garage that I could have either used, but then it's like the family as well, and it's not that fair on them. So I could have either looked at like getting a unit or a warehouse type thing, but I didn't want to be doing the prep myself. So the one thing I looked at is like I could hire someone, but the problem with that is you're like relying on one person, and say you train them and they get ill or they then leave. It's like, well, what do I do then? And it's for me, like I'm going to be out of the country. I'm going to sort of like Australia for 6 months, so it's a case of like, I can't, like, if something went wrong, like, I'd rather just have that sort of stress. That's why I personally went for a prep center. But I think it's kind of a case of if you had any sort of, if people are looking at a warehouse, if they need tips, but also I guess we'll come on to prep centers in a minute because that's where I have an experience. So it's something I can more talk about. So it's just, I guess, if you had any tips for people if they are looking for a warehouse, and then we'd probably go on to sort of prep centers after that.
I guess sourcing the right sort of racking, shelving, that sort of thing, and having the right kit to get around the warehouse. Like obviously got a pump truck, which is fairly expensive. Getting decent racking and stuff that store the goods when they come in. Access to pallets if you're going to be shipping out pallets or accepting pallets in. Someone to get rid of your waste pallets if you have that. Someone to get rid of all the waste, like a lot of bins. That's another cost we've got. It all sort of adds up, but it is part and parcel of it. And then ultimately having staff, that's another cost you might have to run the warehouse if you're going to focus on like, the customer service side of the thing.
And also like access to lorries. So you don't want somewhere which is down some alley on the back of someone else's land, because otherwise you've got to get your wheelbarrow out and push everything down an alley to get it out to the UPS guy or to come and collect wherever your goods are coming in from.
And then somewhere that accepts all the supermarkets. Like our warehouse is where every single supermarket, is acceptable. Whereas a lot of warehouses or different warehouse locations are like those supermarkets will go there because it's like too industrial sort of thing. So we're lucky in that sense to be able to accept, all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're good tips and it's like things that I wouldn't think of. But I think the main thing for me about getting a warehouse, I feel, is that you kind of have to be doing decent volume to get or make all those costs worthwhile, all those overheads worthwhile to cover them. And it's like I don't think many people probably are. And then as well, it's like the hassle as well of getting everything set up. And to me, it was just like, I don't really want to be doing this. When again, it's like I'm trying to avoid doing the prep because I want to be focusing on things like sourcing and ways of growing the business and stuff. And then if I'm sort of trying to get a warehouse going and training staff and everything and worrying about if they're going to quit on me or if they're ill or whatever, and then all these different factors that you've just mentioned, it's like that's why I sort of decided that prep center is the best route for me, and probably one of the best decisions I've made in terms of just time saved, and also I just didn't really like prepping, so
we love it.
There you go. I suppose it probably helps when you got a bit of company as well.
The other thing is probably like the commitment side of it. You've got to like sign a lease. You can't just have like a rolling month-to-month contract with a warehouse. Most companies want you to sign up for like 1 to 5 years, depending on what you're going to go. So it's like a big commitment thing. Like you said, if you want to get away and travel, you've got no chance of that. If you're signed into a 3-year lease, you're sort of tied in.
And I think that's why like a lot of people do sort of Amazon internet business, because they want to have that sort of more flexibility. At least that's what I think anyway. But yeah, so if we sort of go on to the prep center now, I sort of touched on it, but my situation was, I think most people probably are sort of aware of it through the group and that, but I was doing like, say, decent volume on Amazon, but I was doing all the prep at home, and I've got a decent area space for it, but it's just the time that it was taking up, and also like it's my family's house as well, so didn't feel that fair on them because we've got like a pool, snooker table and stuff in there as well, and if I've got all my like Amazon stuff on it and everything, it's not really that fair, and then it just ended up being messy and everything as well. Like that's the other thing with prep as well. I hate it. Like you get everything done, and then you get the boxes there, and the next day it's like you got all this shit you have to tidy away. But yeah, that wasn't for me. So yeah, after a while, I sort of looked at prep centers and decided this is for me. And sort of 2 months later, I think it's a great decision just in terms of having sort of one. It's like having one area now where I don't have to worry about. Like another thing as well, just there's so many benefits, like parcels being delivered by retailers or whatever. I don't have to be in to do that. I don't have to get up, and it's all those little distractions. Like if you have to get up 3 or 4 times a day to go and answer the door, it just adds up. It's all those things anyway. But yeah, so at first I went for direct to EU. I had to look around at 5 different prep centers. So obviously WePrep FBA. Fred and Arthur are from. Direct to EU, I looked at Kev Blackburn's prep service, and name eludes me. Easy Prep by Natalie and Matt Cromie, and then Easy Logic by Sam Phillips. And I sort of asked around and got good feedback from everyone, but in terms of costs and sort of feasibility and speaking to a few people, narrowed it down to Direct to EU and Easy Prep. Ended up going first to Direct to EU, but felt like it wasn't really for me. The main thing I sort of struggled with there was just I wanted like a hands-off type experience, but I felt with Direct to EU I had to still create all the shipment. Then they would, when they received products, they'd take a picture of it, and then I still had to check it was like the same product, and then I had to create an order with their sort of they have a management type system. I had to do that, and it was just taking still quite a lot of time for something that I wanted to be reducing time on. But the actual service itself is good, so I can't really fault that. But I decided it wasn't really working for me. So I think it was about a month ago, decided give WePrepFBA a go with Fred and Arthur, and since then it's been really, really great. I mean, I've not had to check any products. Like I always get a message if there's any sort of issues at all on Slack, and then you can just go from there. They check all the products are right. They'll do all the prep and everything. That's another thing. Like Direct to EU, even if it said on Amazon like this product needs polybagging, I'd have to write a note to do that. So it's like all these things are just taking time. I don't want it to. And now it's just a case of all I do really is buy an item, add it to a spreadsheet, and add the ASIN to Amazon. That's pretty much it. Does that sound about right, guys?
Absolutely.
Like that's pretty much it. And it's awesome. Like I'm not just saying this because like I'm a customer, but it's great in terms of just the amount of time saved. The only negative is the cost, but you have to value your time. Like if I was probably spending about every 2 weeks I'd do a shipment, and it would probably take me at least sort of 10, 12 hours. Like I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be done at like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Like that's seriously what it was. And it's, you do that sort of say 12 hours twice a month, like 24 hours. If you sort of value your time, that's a lot. And you think how many products you could source or what else you could be doing in that time, which I have now. And it was just like now in hindsight, it's a bit of a no-brainer for me. But yeah, I won't waffle on too much. And if you guys want to just sort of touch on a bit about what you guys offer as a service, and there's anything else that you want to talk about just in general, if you've got any ideas. And then guys, if you've got any questions about prep or prep centers, then let us know in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Are you still there, Luke?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, can now. You stopped freezing.
Okay, cool. All right, did I freeze for a while?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
A little
All
while
right.
ago.
Okay. Well, I don't know where it stopped, but I was just sort of saying if you guys want to sort of talk a bit about WePrepFBA and just a bit about prep centers in general, and if you've got anything else you'd like to add, and then if anyone in the chat's got any questions, let us know. Yeah, cool.
Our prep center was you wanted it to be a complete sort of pay-as-you-go, if you want it to be that way, pay-as-you-go sort of setup. So if you want to source a lot of products in one hit and then send us a load of stuff and then we'll sort it all out for you and send it into Amazon, that's fine. And then you want to do something else with your time, you're able to do that with sort of no additional costs while you're not prepping, or if you're starting out, there's no hit of like £300 where you've got to sign up and work with us. It's nothing like that. It costs you £19.95, whatever it is, just to sign up for the admin, and then you're in, and then we'll take the prep away from there. And after that, if you want to go to VIPs, there's a few additional costs and that sort of thing where we completely look after you. You'll sell essentially like we do for you, Luke. But on the whole, it's a cheap enough service where you can come and go as you please. And if you're a small seller or just starting out, it's quite easy to get involved.
Pretty much everything there is about it. I mean, as far as talking about other prep centers, it's saying it'd be very difficult for us to do because I've never been to one. I don't know what they're like really, only from what you can see on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. But I think that there's a pretty similar setup apart from like the option to have a contract free service like we provide. But yeah, like I think having both of those options for the free monthly one and then the VIP one where we completely take care of everything and make a completely hands-off experience. So like you said, you can go off traveling and do what you want, or you can be working a full-time job and doing this on the side without having to even think about how to create a shipment and to and fro with FNFP labels and stuff like that. I think it just offers a good option to try and fit in for everybody, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think the one thing I'd say if anyone is looking for a prep center is to just spend a bit of time doing your research. Like I spoke to you guys and I spoke to 4 other prep centers just to sort of get a bit of a feel for it, and I sort of costed roughly what I looked at what I sold last month and then got the rates on the website and be like, okay, what would that actually sort of cost me, so I could work out which sort of service was the best roughly, and then get a feel for them. Ask questions like if you're interested in doing merchant fulfilled, ask that, because for example there's one prep center that won't do that. So ask around, like just try and you can even go and visit prep centers. I don't know if you guys do that, but there are a couple of people, so you can go and like visit and chat to the guys or whoever's running it. But yeah, I'm not going to waffle on too much. I would say one thing I will say is that for those who don't know, these guys do have a group, Facebook group, which I'll stick a link in the chat, and I know there's some good content in there. And also they do have a page as well, and I do enjoy seeing, I think, Fred in some interesting outfits sometimes. So if you bit of a laugh, yeah. The dog sometimes as well comes out.
Oh yeah.
Susan, the dream team.
Yeah.
They hold it together really. They do most of the work.
No, I love it. Well, yeah, I think that's sort of about it. I think it's tough with prep because it's not really an exciting topic, is it? It's not. Well, maybe for you guys it is. Maybe for you guys it is. Sorry.
No, it's well dry.
Yeah, so this is a difficult thing. So if you have a chat about sourcing and stuff, there's all these different like interesting, exciting methods you can do that people have like never heard of. Whereas prep is kind of just like follow Amazon's regulations, be as efficient as you can, and then you're all right. Actually, it reminds me of I can't remember what the movie is. Actually, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's about McDonald's and how it started up, and it might be, and it's like I don't know if there's that old guy who comes along and he literally just like reconstructs the whole McDonald's, all about just efficiency, about how the restaurant operates, and all about the efficiency, and how like the grids and marks that all out, and it's time stuff. But yeah, I think that's in terms of prep, that's about it. There you go. Yeah. So if you find that interesting, then start a prep center or a fast food chain. But yeah, I think go for it. Do what you like. But yeah, I think the one thing to speak to these guys to try and for those who are looking for a prep center, if you are interested in WePrepFBA, sort of is an offer there for you. The guys did mention the VIP shipment management. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, but that means that you do all sort of the Seller Central stuff. So it's like what I talked about before in terms of just adding an ASIN, and you'll create the shipment from there, and see it's pretty and like sort the courier and everything. So is that sort of a good summary of it? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
and so
basically we know when there's sort of like a shipment ready. We might give you a message if we're unsure, but pretty much we know when there's a load of goods there, and we'll just get it together. Don't need to speak to us about it. We'll have authorization from you to accept the charges from UPS for the shipment in, and then it's sort of your goods come in and are in Amazon probably before you've even realised they've hit our shelves if you're not paying attention. You know?
Yeah,
it means we can we can get stuff out like sometimes we get stuff out like the same day. You know, if we're doing all management inside, so it can really speed things up for you, get your goods selling quicker.
Yeah, I have had a couple of times where like I've gotten an email from Amazon saying shipment received, and like, oh shit, I've got to go and do some bloody pricing now. And it's like, it's good as well. But yeah, no, it's cool. So yeah, so the offer for tonight is normally the VIP shipment management is I think £95 a month. Is that right?
Yeah, 95 a month.
Yeah, okay. So for anyone who is interested in signing up or getting a prep center, giving it a go, the offer is that you can get that for £1 for the first month. So that is instead of £95 a month for the VIP shipment management, just for £1. And I'll put that, I'll send that offer out if it works. Fingers crossed.
You got the link, yeah?
Yeah, it's like you can fancy webinar type jam thing. You can send like an offer out. So I don't think it will show for us, but in the chat it should show for everyone else. So guys in the chat, if you can let us know if you can see that. And then, so basically the offer is if you go through that link and then you need to use the passcode iGen, which it should show in the offer, but that's just IGEN. Okay, most of it's there, cool. And then that should allow you to sign up for, okay, yeah, in capitals, IGEN in capitals. If you have any issues, let us know in the chat, but that's there. So I'm not trying to hard sell anything. It's just a case of if you are looking for a prep center, I mean, that's a pretty good offer. The VIP shipment management I talked about, it's awesome. Like you literally, all I do is buy products, add it to Style Central, and then put the information of the order on the sheet, and then everything else is taken care of until it hits Amazon when I need to do the pricing. So yeah, options there if you guys would like it. And then I think there's a few questions in the chat, so we just, well, I don't know if you guys wanted to add anything on there first before we go to the questions.
I think it's all covered, really.
The prep is the
cool.
prep, and that's all there is.
Yeah.
You'll use that. So you understand it. You've explained it like what we do kind of a bit better than we have normally, to be honest. So that's quite handy. So.
It's nice
well, I think
from the customer's point of view.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's difficult sometimes when you're talking about your own sort of service because it's in your head, and it's like you take sort of, you have assumed knowledge where it's like you just like, oh, I know this is, you forget to mention sort of things. So I think that's why I've tried to sort of go through like the process for me, and I think it's really sort of hands free, which I like. So it just saves me time. And I guess the question for people watching this is a case of time versus money. Like if you want to go and prep the products and you find that all right, then fair enough. But I don't know. I think most people probably value their time. It's a like economics, economies of scale type thing. You guys are specialized in this area, so it's cost efficient for you. You've got the warehouse, you've got all the like the storage facilities and everything. Like it's cost efficient for you guys to do it. Whereas if someone does it by themselves, they don't have that economy of scale. Like you have like the startup cost. I'm not going to go into all those sort of technical terms, but I think everyone sort of understands that. So we've got a few questions. I might not be able to answer this one. I don't know if you guys know. Someone's asked if the Dynamo 450 is okay for shipping labels, and I don't know because I've never used one.
Don't use one either.
Yeah, I think
we use printer. We find it
I think the best way to go, if you go on YouTube and just put in the Dynamo 450,
yeah,
it will show you the options of exactly what it does. Maybe like a man talking about his printer.
Yeah, so I was gonna. Yeah, so I was gonna say just like I'm pretty much gonna say the same thing. Just Google it or YouTube, whatever, and it'll be out there. They're pretty accessible. Anthony's asked void fill paper. Could we use politically neutral newspaper?
It depends what you. It depends what you consider to be politically neutral.
I recommend the Sun.
Yeah, just the Sun paper. It'll be fine.
There you go. Especially if the fulfillment centre is near Liverpool as well, then you should be fine. I live nearby, so I know what it's like. But anyway, Anthony's also got another question. I'm sure I haven't missed any. Could you please clarify again, if you don't mind, why you chose WePrepFBA above direct to EU? Yeah, sure. So I think this was the. Yeah, so this was a tough one for me. So I used I used direct to EU first, and in terms of like the overall service, it was very professional. Alex, the owner, is very like really nice guy. He sort of taught me through the service and everything, and that's like one of the reasons I went for them in the first place. And also cost-wise, really good. But I sort of wanted a service where, like I've got now. So with WePrepFBA, I buy an item, and this is literally the process. I'll buy an item. I'll then add the Amazon name and the ASIN, the quantity, the date. I think that's it, to the Google Sheet, and then I'll add the ASIN to my Amazon Seller Central, and that's it. Then they do everything else from there. With direct to EU, it was a case of I had to do that. But then when I wanted to ship items in, I had to then go into the direct to EU's sort of inventory management system, and there was all the items were there, and I had to go through each one to check that the inventory received was correct. So I had to check there's the right amount. I had to check the images to make sure the products were the same. And that's just something where it's like I didn't really want to be doing that. And then in terms of actually creating the shipment, I had to do the shipment on Amazon up to sort of where the point where you enter in the box content information. So I had to do all that, and then I had to sort of duplicate that on direct to EU's inventory management system. So I had to do that pretty much twice, and then as well as that, I had to any prep notes or bundle information, anything like that, I had to enter that onto direct to EU system. So it's like I had to then do it's like duplication. Even if it said on Amazon like you need to prep these products, even though it was there, I had to put it into direct to EU system as well. So it just didn't feel that efficient to me, and it was taking quite a lot of time, where this is something where I wanted to sort of reduce the time I was doing it. But if people are willing to do that, that's fair enough. And I mean, the cost was great. The service was good apart from that. If anything, the communication was sometimes a little bit slow because it was over email. And with WePrepFBA, it's good because it's like Slack and I can just message in there, and then you can get pretty much instant response if they're online. So that's really good. Like often Fred or Arthur will message me if for example, there's a product where this retailer has sent the wrong item, or there's any issue like it's expired, or they can just message me, and then I can sort of make a decision with what I want to do there. So that's overall is why I chose WePrepFBA for direct to EU now. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, Anthony. But Maurice has asked, is there an extra charge per item or 95 all-in price? Yeah, unfortunately, you have to. Unfortunately, yeah. So the way I'll let you guys explain, because you probably know the cost structure better.
Yeah, no, there's cost per item as well. The £95 is essentially you only pay that if you want the VIP package, which is where we do the management of your Amazon Seller Central. So that's what that cost really covers. But the fees structure will work the same whether you're on the VIP plan or you are on the pay-as-you-go plan. And that's priced from, we start with, if you're sending out 0 to 500 units, you'd be on tier 1. And then the price will come down if you're doing 500 to 1,000 units. And then it goes up 5 tiers, I believe, up to 3,000 plus units, where the price sinks for everything. And yeah, so that's how it works. But no, £95 all in would be pretty crazy if it did include everything.
Yeah, so I think like in terms of general prep center structure, from what I saw when I was looking at it, is that I think sort of most, if not all, the prep centers had like a monthly fee, and that varied. To some of it was tiered, the monthly fee, and like had like different options, and then some, like you guys have like a basic option and like a VIP type option, and then obviously alongside that you had per unit costs. So you have a standard cost for every unit that's like labeled, the standard cost for every unit that's polybag, standard cost for every unit that's bundled, that type of thing. So Maurice, what you can do if you are interested is that if you go through that link, there will be a pricing page as well on the WePrepFBA website, so you can go and check that out, and it gives you information on the sort of cost structure. But as Arthur talked about, the VIP is just for the shipment creation side of things. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Someone mentioned they don't have connection, but I can see you guys, you can see me, so it might just be them. If you do have any problems with connection or whatever, there will be a replay available, or if you had to dash off early or anything like that. But yeah, I think that covers pretty much everything. So yeah, unless anyone else has got any questions. If not, it's been great to have you guys on. Yeah, it's been good to. Yeah, no, it's been good to speak to you, and yeah, I'll be chatting to you again very soon. But yeah, yeah, cool. All right, guys, thank you for everyone who's joined us tonight. Thanks for the questions, and if you do have any more questions, feel free to message me, Luke Filer, on Facebook, and that Fred Benfield and Arthur How do you pronounce your surname, Arthur? Is it Oregon?
Oregon, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the bit you struggle with, not the way I weirdly spell it on Facebook.
No, I wasn't gonna bring that up. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
yeah. Yeah, cool. All right, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, if you have any
Right.
messages, let us know. But it's been good to speak to you. See you.
See ya.